Hello everyone. Yeah, nothing to worry about. Had a bit of a rant last week and the old GP told me to watch my blood pressure. So I've got one of these fitted and just going to give it a go. Let's see what's happening in the news, shall we?
I took those tickets to go with a member of my family. I thought that was the right thing to do from a security perspective.
Interesting.
And the news that politicians are getting an inflation-busting pay rise.
Interesting.
This assault on disabled people and those in need of support is nothing short of sadistically cruel.
Motherfucker! Hello everyone, my name's Matt Johnston and welcome to The Interesting Times, a show that looks and laughs at UK politics. Now, last week I went on a bit of a rant and honestly not a good idea. Raises the old blood pressure, heart starts pounding, muscle tension and lightheadedness. Well, this week I've learned my lesson. I've got scented candles, a stress relieving background and some whale music. So mysterious. What are they saying? Nobody knows. Kidding. That, of course, was the Welsh national rugby anthem. Hen Wlad fy Nidau, or The Old Land of My Fathers, written in 1856. The lyrics done by Evan James and the music by his son James James, which I think we can all agree when it comes to naming your offspring is just fucking lazy. Like being called George and naming all your boys George. Anyway, back to the Labour Party and their cuts. And for those saying, well, the Tories did much worse, good point. And it's worth mentioning as well that the Tories wouldn't have come up with a workers' Bill of Rights or been this vocal about the welfare cuts. But people voted for Labour for change and on the understanding, at its very basic I appreciate, that they will act like the Labour Party. Under the Tories, people watched bankers, hedge fund managers and anyone that drank in their local get turned into millionaires because that's what the Tories do. But when you base your whole message down to that one word, people don't mind you taxing the billionaires, even if the billionaires bugger off to somewhere else. And of course, there's this.
In the last few days, it's also emerged that you accepted free tickets for a corporate box to see the singer Sabrina Carpenter at London's O2 Arena this month. Is that what happened?
Look, I took those tickets to go with a member of my family. I thought that was the right thing to do from a security perspective.
Look, taking freebie tickets to a Sabrina Carpenter concert isn't the end of the world. Although then deciding to claim that it was for security reasons just seems odd. Although the Eiffel Tower does look like what you and Starmer are doing to the country. Not so much Eiffel Tower as awful shower. But not only does it look like you don't care by taking these tickets, no matter what the reality is, it also looks like greed. Like you can't say no to a freebie when you may have been going anyway. But if you pay for a ticket, you look like a fan rather than a freeloader. And so the issue is this. Looks. Yes, I mean, it's optics, but politicians are more susceptible to this than most. And chancellors are probably the most susceptible because they are the ones that turn around like you are doing, Rachel Reeves, and saying we are freezing this benefit, we are halving that benefit. So pay for the tickets, pay for the entire box. Or if that's not possible, then donate the cash equivalent to the Treasury. Not only will that effectively mean you're paid for the tickets, but it'll reduce the £22 billion black hole by a little. Maybe you might be able to then claim it as expenses. The good news was that by the end of the week, nobody was talking about Sabrina Carpenter freebies. The bad news?
Right, we now come to the spring statement. Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rachel Reeves.
Less spring statement and more busted coil utterance, as the spring statement confirmed our worst fears As some 3 million families will be worse off, it'll push 250,000 people into poverty, and that includes some 50,000 children. And following the spring statement, the Chief Secretary to the Treasury, Darren Jones, was on Politics Live as the impact assessment dropped like a bomb.
Just had the impact assessment has just dropped. Now, the average loss for someone on the personal independence payment is £4,500 a year.
That is terrible news. So it's only fair it gets a terrible answer.
So take for example, if I said to my kids, I'm going to cut your pocket money by £10 a week, but you have to go and get a Saturday job, the impact assessment on that basis would say that my kids were down £10, irrespective of how much money they get from their Saturday job.
Yes, Darren there comparing pocket money to his kids to benefits given to those in this country who are either struggling to find work or who are unable to get work. Then blithely saying, well, that all they need to do is get a job to make themselves richer.
You've chosen a particular form of disability benefit which affects people who are too ill or too disabled to work. And you're going to halve it, and then you're going to freeze it for the rest of this decade. And these are people who aren't going to be working. It doesn't help the economy. It doesn't help get people into work. It just seems to be an absolute cut.
Oh, language, Andrew. Still, he's got a point. And if Darren Jones was putting his foot in his mouth, it was Rachel Reeves that attempted to swallow herself.
If you have a 16-year-old and you say, do you know what, I'm not going to give you so much pocket money, I want you to go out to work. And then the OBR comes and does an impact assessment and says, your child is going to be worse off. Well, they're going to be worse off if they don't go and get themselves a Saturday job. But if they do go and get themselves a Saturday job, they'll probably be better off.
Yeah, it's like if you try to take your kids on holiday, but stay at home rather than go to Disney World, and then the OBR decides, what the bloody hell are you talking about? Okay, just to be clear, everybody, I'm sure, wants to work. Absolutely everybody. But for that to happen, for some people with accessibility needs, you're going to need investment. You're going to need accessibility, and you're going to need jobs. Although she is right about this.
Global instability is holding back prosperity across the world.
I wonder who she could be talking about. Okay, this is a message to the Labour government. You've got to stop trying to please people that hate you. It's never going to work. Trump hates you. You give him a letter from the king, he slaps tariffs on us. Elon Musk hates you. He accuses members of your government of being child rape apologists. You consider saving them several £100 million in taxes. The right-wing press hate you. You decide not to tax the wealthy like the media barons, and they print headlines like this. And because you're doing this, you're also losing the very people that put you into power. The ones that like you, or at least don't hate you. Yet. Your voters. Put simply, you're not going to please everyone. But the way you're going, you're not going to please anyone. If you want certainty, you're not going to get it with Elon Trump. You know where certainty comes from? It's the elephant in the room. Exactly. Get back into the single market. That way you can try to get people back on side. Because there are local elections coming up. Speaking of which, yes, break out the blue rinse and adult diapers. It's Reform's local elections launch in Birmingham.
The 28th of March, we're going to launch our campaign for the 1st of May for the local elections and indeed for the mayoral elections. It'll be in Birmingham.
Nigel Farage came out on a digger when, as I'm sure we all know, really it should have been a spreader. To be fair, he was greeted pretty enthusiastically. In total contrast was Reform candidate for lack of reality and underwhelming crowd colour, Andrea Jenkins.
Wow, what a crowd. This is amazing.
Well, it was till you showed up. Then Deputy Chairman and Uncle you definitely didn't invite to the wedding, so what's he doing here? Richard, that is all my own hair. I paid for it. Tice.
We're the fastest growing political party, and we have a Baldrick-like cunning plan to win the next general election.
Other notable Baldrick cunning plans include scratching his name on a bullet so that when people talked about there being a bullet out there with your name on it, he would own the bullet. Solving his aunt's problem with low ceilings by chopping off her head, and making Lee Anderson chief whip of the Reform Party. Oh, wait. All under the catchy Savile title, Reform Will Fix It. Although the party becomes so toxic, I wouldn't be surprised if they get a cease and desist letter from the estate of Jimmy Savile. All played out in an arena emptier than Andrea Jenkins' skull. Oh, and finally, 2 more Reform stories for you. For those of a certain age, they will remember Margaret Thatcher and a rumour that she had invented the Mr. Whippy, a soft ice cream that started dripping as soon as it got into contact with air. Turns out that she didn't. The rumour was apparently the brainchild of the child brain, Scott Huggins, who will now be able to use his penchant for political misinformation to its optimum effect as a Reform councillor. And this being Reform, there was the big surprise, as Aaron Robin Banks, the bad boy of Brexit, was unveiled as the candidate for mayor for West of England, with this election video, although I don't think Aaron's quite got the concept of elections.
I've never really cared what anyone thought of me.
And finally, speaking of Reform, Charlie Mullins, the man who poured pound after pound into staying in and then rejoining the EU, is now pouring the same money into Reform. And he has been threatened to have his OBE revoked. The OBE, of course, is a title bestowed on individuals for services to and stands for Order of the Spanish Empire. At least that's what I'm assuming, as that's where true patriot Charlie spends most of his days now. The right-wing press have had a field day with this, the cancelling of free speech, etc. However, it doesn't take much digging to see the real reason. So, just to make people aware, when you pick up your honour, it is made clear to you that you are expected to act in a manner becoming of that honour, right? So you can't, for instance, put out a tweet saying that a democratically elected mayor should be killed, for example, which is also illegal, by the way, and criticising the way Carol Vorderman dressed, which is none of his business. Not sure as well that anyone that looks like this can have a go at anyone's appearance, although Charlie is 72. Wow, he looks amazing for 72. I wonder if he's ever had any work done. But as you get older, certain physical truths become apparent. Like your hearing, for instance.
I can't even, sorry?
I said, like your...
Sorry?
I said, like...
Sorry?
Like your hearing, for instance. So, Charlie went on to GB News to talk to Jacob Rees-Mogg about how it's all political. I know people have asked me to stop playing GB News clips, but honestly, I think you're going to enjoy this. It is hilarious. Watch for the point as well, where Jacob, who's clearly on Charlie's side, gives up all pretense of impartiality to basically explain Charlie's point to him.
That's what it's about. It's a personal attack.
OK, but you did say some pretty unsavoury things about Sir Sadiq Khan, didn't you?
I said a couple of throwaway comments.
OK, the sort of thing somebody might say in the pub.
I can't even... Sorry?
The sort of thing somebody might say in the pub, that, you know, he's a dreadful man.
Say what you want. What I'm trying to say is if you don't
but
like...
you put it on Twitter.
Sorry?
But you put it on Twitter.
There were some comments on Twitter, and I made a comment on Twitter. I made a comment about Carol Vorderman. I made a comment about a joke at Indian Curry Awards. I mean, you know, it's freedom of speech.
Freedom of speech, but didn't you suggest actually violence against...
Sorry?
Didn't you suggest violence against...
You're having a laugh, aren't you?
Well, I think... But
I suggested violence.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Well, I think that's what your tweets...
Well, they can say what they want. What was said is...
But what you're saying is it was said in a light-hearted way. You didn't mean anyone should attack Sadiq Khan.
Well, of course I did.
No. And that, therefore, it was really an opinion that he was a bad mayor.
Oh.
OK, Charlie, I want to be helpful, so I've been learning some sign language. So, allow me to explain. Get it? Thank you all so much for joining me today, or on whatever day you're watching this. If you have enjoyed today's offering, well, why not subscribe? Why not as well like and comment and share? And I'll see you all soon. Take care.